happens. Open with Contowish Kawe Jacquelyn Ross. I'd like to welcome everybody and express my appreciation for being here and to say Kamalish to the brother. Kamalish Papo Yisko, Kamalish Kaini. I'm very grateful for the elders here. I'm grateful for all my relatives today. And let's take a moment to remember the original people of this land and their descendants that are working so hard to make it beautiful again and back to its glory. So I appreciate that. So I was so tickled and bemused when I got the call from Kate and Kamala because I don't work with money very much. I'd rather not think about it. I'd rather not have to think about it. And it turns out that's a little bit of a family tradition. When I went away to college, my mom, she does this once in a while. Maybe you have mothers like this. She has a normal mode and then like the real serious mode. And she says, I want you to come in and see something. She says, I have a gift for you. I said, okay. And I thought it's going to be like the sex talk or, who knows, but what it's going to be before you go off to school. I wasn't sure. We'd already had that, but it might be an adjunct lesson. I just didn't know. So I went into her room and I sat on the bed and she handed me a checkbook. And it was my grandmother's checkbook. And it was showing how my grandmother lived on maybe a couple $100s a month. And all I remembered about her economic situation is beautiful meals, hand-sewn clothes, feeding every stray that came by, human or animal, beautiful gardens, pansies, geraniums, lush backyard, all this stuff. And I thought, how did she do this? And she looked at me, she goes, I don't know how she did this, but you come from can-do people. That's a good college gift. That was a good thing to go away from because it helped me keep my center. And I think that's maybe where I started to get it in my head in a very conscious way that money is a tool. And I agree with Sister Kim here. That is right. And that's the relationship that I have come to have with money. And I'm lucky, very lucky. And I might have, in my peer group, I think maybe we were the last generation or have been the last for a while that grew up seeing examples of being a part of family that were hunters or are hunters and fishers and growers and makers. And that gives you a certain sass in the world. That gives you a certain amount of independence, knowing where your food comes from and knowing the land quite well and feeling like you could do it, and my dad didn't talk about money as much as my mother did. My mother's very conscious about it, and my mom has been a public health nurse, so she saw what can happen when you don't have enough and took care of a lot of people that didn't have enough and did that primarily in the Bay Area when she came out from the Midwest. And so she saw a whole other side of life, and she talked to us a lot about that and how easy it is to slip into poverty. But my dad, not so much, and it was in his later years that I was talking with him, and I asked him about something, and it's one of the few times when he told me they didn't have enough money for something. He wanted a toy. As a young boy, he wanted a toy. And he says, I really wanted it. And there just wasn't money for that. And I said, well, what'd you do? He goes, we went out and set a trap line. And we killed mink to sell the fur and make money for the toy. Which my side now is like, oh God, that's horrible. That's what they did. That's how they do it. So kind of that seeing a way to do it, a can-do spirit about it and doing it. What I also saw in that system, what I remember about my grandmother so much is that she was quiet. I think we would probably call her an introvert today, but she had good relationships with a lot of people, and she would haul me along visiting with her. So when she went to see her lady friends, I would be there on the side, get the cookie and the whatever while they're being adults and having tea and talking scandal and doing all those things that they did. But you might have had this when you're growing up as well, that you don't go somewhere without a gift to someone's house, and you probably don't leave without a gift. And on one hand, that's etiquette, right? But on the other way, I think going way, way back, that's taking care of each other. You're redistributing what you have. You're making sure your friend has something else. You're doing it in a way that's gracious, that gives honor to the recipient as well as the giver, right? So there's a beautiful exchange happening there. and a dignity to it, I think, which is quite beautiful. And I realized looking back, I saw a lot of that. I saw a lot of what the great social economist Alistair McIntosh calls, kind of that human economy. And he's kind of codified it a little bit. There's that reciprocity. We're like, I have eggs this week. I've got too many. I'm just going to make sure you have eggs. Whether I get fish from you later on is beside the point. You're probably going to do it. But I'm making sure everybody has enough and nothing goes to waste, right? And then your barter economy and your exchange and all these ways that communities used to take care of each other more beautifully. And I had that example. I was so lucky. How many people in here had that in their lives? And how many know that it would be helpful to you for you to have it right now? Yeah, it would be amazing, wouldn't it? It would be so much. And I'm privileged to work in the higher education setting. I work for a major research university, and we have hungry students. It's really hard. I peer counseled a student about 30 years ago who was living in her car with a brain tumor as a reentry student. And I don't know why I had the $20, but I did. I had $20 in a day when she needed it, and she paid me back. She managed to do that. I graduated and got out of there and got our situation taken care of. So sometimes it is that little bit of difference in there that changes everything. And so with my work with students, even though several of us ladies do not take on, we're not officially financial aid counselors, but we end up doing some financial literacy discussion because this generation that we're working with now needs so much more stuff than we needed. So there's a lot of technology that people carry around with them, right? There's the cell phones and the latest data plan, and there's all the down phones, and do you have Amazon Prime or not? There's just like all these things that are going into it. And I had a roommate in college who fell prey to one of those credit card guys out on the quad. So you get 5 credit cards even though you only want one. And one of the credit cards she was gifted was the Zales Diamond card. And then she started thinking about how much, I love my mother. She has worked so hard for me. You know what she needs for Christmas? She needs a diamond. And she bought her a diamond ring while an undergraduate with college loans and everything else. So we have seen how this all rolls around with each other for students and try to come to some kind of place for that. So I've retooled myself a little bit, and I have a crew, and we are redistribution agents. So there is not an event on campus that we know about where the food goes to waste anymore. We've got an incredible team separate from our office who works on campus that can get CSA boxes for students, very reasonably priced, about 2/3 less than what's happening. Other people go when all the students move out every year. Other people go and run around and rescue all the lamps, the 25 toasters, the microwave ovens, everything else that students in a desperate time dump are throwing in the dumpster and getting rid of. So this is some of what I'm getting to enjoy at this part of my life is helping to save the money part for the part when you do need to use it as a tool, and you can use it as a tool, but shift stuff around because I do think there's a lot more food out there than we acknowledge, and there's certainly a lot more stuff out there. And there's no reason to have 25 toasters sitting by the dumpster when you've got a crew of Syrian refugees sitting in Sacramento who need home goods, right? So there's a lot of moving around. It's a joy to be part of that, and I hope we get to talk about that a little bit later today. Yeah, thank you.